I don't want a pickle. I just want to ride on my motorcycle. Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the Nokomoto Podcast, episode number, I think this is 280. It might be 279, but I think it's 280. I'm your host, MotoGP. With me is your other host, Swiggy.
Yo.
Coming to you from Moto One Podcast Network Studios, Recording Suite A, otherwise known as the Tiki Room. Let's see here. We're going to do Best Worst Bike in the World this week, of course. I don't know exactly what else we're going to do. We might get a little into some precious motorcycle attitudes, perhaps. We're definitely going to wrap up some emails that have been lingering around for a little bit of while. We're going to talk about our Mid-Ohio plans and whatever else we feel like getting to. All right, let's jump right into it, Swigs. Let's get Best Worst Bike out of the way. What do you say?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so this is the segment where each week Swigs and I completely copy what Cleveland Moto is doing and then discuss those bikes. Swigs, which idea have you stolen from Cleveland Moto this week?
I don't know. You just sprung this on.
I know.
Terrible.
They got a little bit butthurt. I don't know how many weeks ago, because we both have something. The way in which our show and Cleveland Moto are the most similar is that we both have just awful drop schedules. Sometimes, like, we'll have things recorded for like nearly a month before they go out. Right? Because just the editing and now the video element and everything takes so long. And so, sometimes we talk about things that are similar in the same week, even though those things may have been recorded a month apart. Or, we actually talked about it first, but they dropped their episode first, so they think we ripped them off or something. I don't know. I don't know. It's weird. But I love those guys. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Like, as a joke, I've said things like, oh my God, Ryan F9 must be listening to our show because he put out a video on a similar topic. It's a joke. It's ridiculous. But anyway, Swigs, you have Best Bike in the World this week.
I do.
All right. And are you ready to reveal it?
I am.
Okay. And the best bike in the world this week is
the 2022 and up Fuell Hammerhead 1190.
This feels like one that I did.
Well, we have done previous, previous fully fair
If we didn't do it as best bike, I know, like, when this bike came out, I brought it up and basically shoved my phone in your fucking face, and I was like, Swigs, this is my dream sport bike. Like, one day it will be mine.
Actually, I'm pretty confident I can tell you that you haven't. Because...
Oh, that's right. We have a source.
Yeah, I will have to... I think we need to pin this on the Discord.
We absolutely do.
One of the Erics.
Has
graciously gone through the work of grabbing every single best and worst bike we have ever done and thrown it into a spreadsheet.
With some analysis as well.
Yeah, so, I actually did quickly search for this. I believe early on, we did the predecessor to this bike.
Did I do like the SX 1190 or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. So it was... We'll look it up. It was...
Because I think, like, when they went from... It may have been a thing where when they changed from being EBR and then EBR bought the Fuell name back from Harley Davidson to really kind of make the company intact again.
Actually, I don't think we've ever done one of the newer ones, except for the cruiser. What was it called?
Oh, the Super Cruiser?
Yeah, and then besides that, we've done the Thunderbolt and the Blast and the Ulysses. I don't think we've done this style of bike yet.
Oh.
In any case,
Well, I'm excited to get into it then, because this bike is fucking awesome.
So this is obviously a boutique bike. This is no longer Buell of old. That's just kind of premium sport bike.
No, it is Buell of old. It's just Buell of old is now a company that does small batch boutique bikes.
Right. But yeah, it's not a mass-produced motorcycle anymore.
They're making like 100 a year, maybe.
And so this is now very much in the realm of something like MV Agusta.
Yes.
Actually, also similarly priced as well. So I don't know about these in particular, but supposedly if you know, and this is obviously MV Agusta style, if you have to ask, you can't afford it type thing.
I thought these were for small batch boutique American, super bike. I thought these were a little bit lower in price than I thought. I thought they were sort of like low 30s.
I think that might actually be kind of the top end for this bike. So looking around, because they don't list the prices anymore, similar to MV Agusta, but for the SX, which is the naked one, it's basically like $20,000 to $26,000. Throw on top of that, this has all carbon fiber bodywork. This is
so we're kind of talking Goldwing prices.
Yeah. Now, the thing about this is,
or cheap Harleys. Yeah.
Oh, you can spend way more on a completely unremarkable Indian bagger than you'll spend on this.
This is, and I'd have this every day instead.
Yeah. But this is sort of this is about 30 pounds lighter than a Brutale 1000. It's all carbon fiber bodywork. This does have a little less horsepower, but also has significantly more torque.
Yeah, but isn't it like 168 horsepower? Like it's something.
It's 185 horsepower.
185. That's a good number.
And it's 100 foot-pounds of torque.
Yeah. That is so much on a bike this light.
And if you look at their website and go look through all the images and everything, they don't even try and show you a dash or anything. They don't give a fuck. This is a absolutely uncompromising sport bike. And it's not trying to sell you on Farkles or, creature comforts or anything or any sort of accessories. This is just a true, absolute go fast bike.
Oh, yeah. If someone complained about why it doesn't have a TFT, they'd be like, well, why are you not looking at the road or through the corner? Why is the seat so uncomfortable? You should be hanging off the side, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So this is just absolutely, when you buy one of these, it's kind of like, it's kind of like buying like an 80s or 90s Ferrari. It's like, the seat's uncomfortable. You know what? We didn't want to sell you the car anyway. Fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you.
This is all about performance. Now, is it absolutely insane, stupid performance? Yes. Is it far more performance than you could ever use? Yes. Is it something that really kind of fits, as a daily rider? Absolutely not.
No.
This is ridiculous. But that's also kind of every leader bike that exists. And they're also mass-produced and kind of unremarkable. And frequently...
This is something special.
And frequently mistaken for super sports anyway. But this is unmissable and unmistakable. this stands out as obviously a super expensive, high performance sport bike. And nobody will mistake your $17,000 R1 for an older R6. Like, you're not in that situation. There's no mistaking what this is. And from a distance, it looks expensive and prestigious. And is that a great value for anybody? No, not really. But if you have the means, I highly recommend it. This is, if you're gonna go big, this is how you go big.
I agree. Yeah, it will never be irrelevant because again, the power's so big, and we're already past the age that things were being mass produced that would rival it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. Yamaha might still sell an M1. I don't think they do though. And there are definitely BMWs, like flavors of the S1000RR that get into this territory.
There are some bikes that are kind of in that territory. There is
But
the MV Agustas. There are the Bimotas. There is like like the S1000RR. Well, the S1000RR not really. More like the HP4. It's kind of in that class, and this is this is kind of actually a little bit lower than an HP4 in terms of class and like price. But what this is all American.
Exactly. You are buying heritage with this, and not bullshit heritage. Like, this is Buell. I know Eric doesn't work there anymore, but this is the same legal entity that was Buell under Harley Davidson that then split off
Mm-hmm.
and then had to rename itself EBR, right? And then the guys that own this right now bought EBR, and then they bought the Buell name back from Harley Davidson, so renamed Eric Buell's company, renamed it back to Buell. That it is an unbroken chain, and I don't know this for certain, but when they announced that they were going back into production, there was an article that said they were even hiring back some of the EBR guys that were putting these things together.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when they were operating as EBR, but they were just kind of reassembling. They were assembling bikes from like leftover parts from, back the Eric Buell days. And so they were putting out a very limited number of bikes. But I remember watching a video of guys that had worked with Eric Buell, like putting together bikes. But I believe now it's Buell again. Like, those guys are still there. So there are patents, there's tooling, and there are actual hired people that there's a continuous line that this is way more Buell than Indian is Indian, right? This is...
And at this point now the motor is essentially American as well. So
it's still the Rotax, right?
Well, so I don't know if I have this 100% right, but Buell contracted Rotax to make the engine, but the engine, I believe, was modifications on one of their existing motors. And then these guys actually kind of took that and then they refined it and made their own motor design. So I believe I think they changed enough and they did it in a way that they now own the motor design and they are making the motors.
Buell is making the motors.
That's my understanding.
I didn't know that. That makes the price tag even more worth it.
So, yeah, and of course, because this is a Buell, you do have fuel and frame, and you do have your ZTL front brake.
Right, you got all the Buell things. There's oil and swing arm.
It's all the stuff that people really loved about the Firebolt is all right in here from that era.
From the XB series, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
it's so nice that there's just still a wacky bike with the oil and swing arm, the fuel and frame, the zero torsional load brake, and it says Buell on the side, and it's the same company, and it fucking hauls ass. 100 foot-pounds of torque. An HP4 or whatever, the BMW. There's no way that's making more than like 85 foot-pounds of torque, right?
I think that's kind of where all the
Four
inline,
cylinders,
all the four
they kind of
cylinders,
top mid 80s for torque.
and that's where the
But this is a
Brutale
V
is.
twin, so
Yeah, this is like a 1200cc V twin.
and getting that's another thing too. I love that it's 1200. I love that it just doesn't give a fuck about like race class or anything. Although there's an argument because Ducati used to race 1200 V twins against 1 liter inline fours.
Yeah.
So it may still be relevant to some sort of race class or whatever. But it's really just a special thing.
But honestly,
it's a special thing that's also
'cause,
meant to be ridden.
Yeah. And it not being a 1 liter as a race bike is kind of going by the wayside anyway, because a lot of the 1 liters are going away anyway. It's
Right.
That era is kind of about to end, so it's not really going to be held against you. But yeah, this is just and this is a way to flex on guys with their 1199 Panigales. It's like, oh, that's cute.
Right.
This is
You've got one of I don't know how many. I've got one of like 200, and it's not a special edition. I do believe also I read, I don't know if they still do this, but a year or two ago when they were getting into production with these, I think you could contact them and there were a lot of things you could customize on it, like grips and mirrors and paint job and whatever. What we're specifically looking at, this red, white, and blue, it's so cheesy, it's fucking awesome.
Well, they have I think they have some fantastic color schemes. The yellow and gray two-tone,
I was going to say,
is really good.
Every new Buell looks awesome in yellow.
Yeah, and I imagine there's some amount of you can do quite a bit with the colors, but yeah. Let me pull up a couple ones. There's this guy, which is the yellow and gray.
The gray's not the best, but the yellow and the blue in there is so good, the bike gets away with it. I mean, this is a render, but whatever.
I also think, well, these are all they are, but they're all kind of up on their site, and you can basically pick through these. These are actual options, and I imagine they're somewhat customizable as well. This one kind of pushes the limit on how busy the paint. This kind of clashes a little bit, but it's kind of amazing as well. The red, yellow, and black, or the yellow, the red, yellow, and black.
Oh, this is a nod back to the early Buell days. So it's called like the R something something. It may have just been like R1000, like the first Buell race bike. That's what this is mimicking. And I like it. It would be a hard toss-up for me between the red, white, and blue and this. Oh, that's good. What is that bike called? Something something R or R something something. It's a real goofy looking bike, but it's cool. I mean, Buell, I celebrate their entire catalog now. I like the Super Cruiser. I like the Super Adventure. I like the Hammerhead. I even like the naked version, although the naked version's completely pointless. I don't know. Although Eric Buell told us himself he was into the naked version. That was his favorite because he just likes to ride out there with just the air on his chest, like pushing him back and everything. And okay, I mean, that's for some people, but like you really don't need more than 82 horsepower to do that. So, okay. But uh this is something else. Um and I think that the most recent form that Buell has taken is so poetic, because if Harley Davidson is to survive another 20 years, this is sort of eventually what Harley Davidson has to do. And it's so funny that someone figured out that that's the thing to do with Buell, like way ahead of time. And also, they went into production with these and bought the Buell name back at the height of vaporware bikes.
That's true, yeah.
It's cooled down a lot, and a lot of people still don't believe that you can actually buy these.
Yeah, I guess was this happening around the same time that like they were bringing back Bruff Superior and
Yep.
and were they trying to
Norton and
BSA
through all the Norton problems and all that shit.
Yeah, weren't they trying to bring back BSA as an electric bike company? And
BSA was initially going to be an electric bike company. It was so vaporware, but BSA actually, the name has been bought, and they're being made by, I think it's a Chinese company, and they're I think only for sale in Europe. They don't sell them in the US, and I think that they suck. And like a lot of those things do, it's kind of like what's the other one that everyone thought was going to go great guns? The Italian name.
Are you thinking about Benelli?
Yes. It's kind of a Benelli situation where like there's a couple things they make that are all right. But everyone's like, oh, Benelli's back. We're going to have like 600 and 800 Benellis, and it's going to be amazing. And
isn't Benelli the same parent? Don't they have the same parent company as
SSR?
As SSR, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think their big claim was, well, they're Chinese bikes, but they're still designed in Europe. Which, okay.
I guess there are like 4 people in an office in Italy or something. I mean, whatever. Yeah,
that's
I don't give a shit.
That's true of like 90% of the Walmart catalog. So
yeah, I mean, I can just sit around and draw fucking pictures of things that look like old Benellis too. It doesn't take a lot. Whatever.
Yeah.
I can get Chat GPT to give me shit that looks vaguely like an old Benelli. Like what the fuck? It's just a fucking name on a piece of paper, whereas this is more than just a name. And I always forget how fucking awesome the Buell logo is. It's the best. In an age where it's so hard to have a good motorcycle logo, right?
Yeah.
Mike, I mean, Honda's got the Honda Power Sports wing is pretty fucking good. The Harley Davidson badge and shield, like, as much as it's not my jam, like, it's a thing. It's an icon, right? Yamaha's tuning forks sucks. I love Yamaha. The tuning fork sucks. No one, like, we know what it is, but most people have no idea what the fuck they're looking at. And the Suzuki S, it's kind of hard to give it up for, you know? It's an S. Whatever. But the Buell horse is the shit.
Yeah. I think besides these ones, like, I kind of prefer the really shitty logos. Because it's kind of a flex to have a really, really shitty logo instead of a boring one.
Yeah.
Like Moto Guzzi's is pretty terrible. MV Agusta's is, it kind of looks like, I don't know, it kind of looks like the start menu icon for a video game.
Yeah.
Or
like an early PC game. Yeah.
It's very strange. But no, yeah, the horse is pretty good.
The horse is killer. All right. I mean, we can just keep gushing about this thing, but I mean, again, the specs are irrelevant. It's just a very special, hand-built in America bike that exceeds your needs in every conceivable way. And it's a special thing, and I hope they're around forever. I sleep better at night knowing that
this vision still exists.
that this vision still exists. Exactly. All right, we want to move on to worst bike in the world this week?
Let's do it.
All right. And the worst bike in the world this week is, and I know for a fact this is the second time that we're doing it, but I'm taking a victory lap on it. The Great Wall Motors, like Suo something, like 8-cylinder Goldwing knockoff thing. What the fuck was it called? I'm actually doing all Chinese motorcycles, but I'm using this as our sort of, whipping boy here a little bit. So about 9 months ago, no one would shut the fuck up about this motorcycle. And to this day, I'm unaware of anyone besides us calling out that it was clear bullshit from the second people started talking about it. Tell me if I'm off base. Please send us an email or a text linking another podcast, news outlet, anything, clearly calling this out for the bullshit that it is. Because, no one did, right? It's clearly a not even current, but previous generation GL 1800 knockoff. And here's how bullshit it is. Not only is it still not for sale in the United States, there's not even a year that they plan to start selling it in the United States. But here's how you really know it's bullshit. It's not even planned to go on sale in China.
Oh, yeah, you couldn't sell this in 80% of China.
It turns out there's almost no motorcycle you can sell in 80% of China.
Oh, yeah,
there are huge amounts of China where you just can't have a motorcycle. And Swigs, I learned an interesting fact. If you have a motor vehicle that does more than 22 miles an hour or something like that, it varies province to province, city to city. But basically in China, motor vehicles have a 13-year lifespan. And regardless of their condition, they have to be turned in and recycled. So this idea that the Chinese are going to make these amazing motorcycles for us to ride is absolute horseshit. The Chinese can't even make a nice motorcycle for the Chinese. It turns out that in most parts of China, it's really a colossal pain in the ass to own anything more than an e-bike.
Yeah, so I think in most places, you're not allowed to have a motorcycle over 150 cc's. And not only that, a lot of big cities, like Shenzhen, motorcycles are outright banned.
Right.
Which is kind of insane. I don't know how that makes... But it's sort of in all of kind of those designated economic zones, they're really big on everything has to be perfect and look great.
Yeah.
And we don't want all these ratty motorcycles shitting up the neighborhoods and making it look grungy. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's the number of places, the size of the bike you can have, and, again, how long you can have it are all really, really restricted.
On top of all that, this concept motorcycle that doesn't have to look the way that it looks looks fucking goofy, right? It doesn't look like something I would buy. Style-wise, it looks... it's got a little 1980s Suzuki like Venture to it, But like, a Venture has hard lines. This kind of looks like a Venture that started melting. Wait, the Venture's the Yamaha. What's the Suzuki? Or was the Suzuki the Venture? It doesn't matter. Whatever. One of the other Japanese
Yamaha
Big Four
is...
Goldwing knockoffs.
Yeah, Yamaha's the Star Venture.
Right.
And...
What's the Suzuki
one? The Cruiser?
Yeah, like their big bagger Goldwing, full dress.
The M109 Boulevard.
No.
But that doesn't really look...
No.
The fully dressed?
Yeah. Like in the 80s, late 80s, they did a Goldwing
in the 80s?
knockoff. Yeah.
That was the Madura.
No.
Well, it is, but that was their V4.
I don't think... Well, whatever. It doesn't matter. It looks like a fucking... Yeah, like Venture or whatever that started melting. Like, the styling's just fucking off. And it's off enough that no one would ever buy this, even if it was going to go on sale in the US. Because, right, it turns out that, right, you can't have nice shit in China. And they're just never going to make the kind of shit that we want to buy. But it doesn't matter they're not going to make the kind of shit that we're going to buy, because they kind of are making the shit that we want to buy. Notice how e-bikes, like 6 years ago, like Yamaha was selling e-bikes in fucking power sports dealerships and bike shops for like $6,000-$7,000.
Yeah.
What does an e-bike cost now? A nice one's like $900.
I mean, there's still wildly variable prices. There's a ridiculous spectrum, just like there is with most bicycles. But yeah, you can get
the ones that people are actually buying.
Yeah, the ones that people can actually buy are kind of like...
It's $400 to like $1,200 essentially. Yeah. And if you're getting something really, really nice, you're probably going for something like a Super 73 or some sort of like crazy cargo
Also,
bike.
You know what's a community that doesn't have range anxiety? E-bikes.
Right.
How did that not become a problem?
Yeah, and their range is 28 miles. Right. Yeah. So it turns out that China's been fucking busy ramping up production on micromobility, essentially, and doesn't really give a shit about motorcycles. I know there's CF Moto and there's some, like, scooter manufacturers, whatever.
I don't think most Chinese people can buy CF Motos either.
I know. Right. It's just, and on top of that, like, they have a shrinking workforce, and they're going to have to start paying the workforce a lot more. All sorts of, for a lot of reasons. The dream of the Chinese replacing the Japanese is just not going to happen. And if it does happen, it's all going to be made in Southeast Asia. Like, it's all going to be made in Vietnam. It's all going to be made in Taiwan. It's all going to be made in India. Like, it will be the Chinese owning a company and then building it in India. But forget all that. It turns out the India is already doing somewhat of the trick that people think that the Chinese will do, replacing the Japanese.
Oh yeah,
the Royal Enfield's on fucking fire, right?
Well, not only that, but pretty soon we're gonna have Bajaj owning KTM.
Don't they already?
I mean, I think it's like a...
It's been in the news.
I don't
know the details of how they own them, but there's some sort of move happening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's a process that's going to take a while. So it's been agreed to, but it's a process that takes a while to happen. But yeah, they were already making all of kind of the 390 motors already. So
right.
It doesn't really matter. Like,
but as we said, the Royal Enfield, they're making motorcycles where the biggest feature is the cost. And they're sacrificing performance and TFT screens and blah, 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 blah. And we've been banging on about this literally for years. Like, only old fucking farts want these gadgets and like crazy horsepower on their bikes. Like, the next generation wants super cheap stuff. They don't give a fuck how fucking fast it goes if they just can't even comprehend how they're going to afford it.
Yeah.
And India understands this problem. Like, deeply understands this issue. So, but India's still not going to replace the Japanese motorcycle in America. It's just not. Like the problem that the Chinese are about to run into in not having their cheap labor force and whatever, Japan already had that problem and has been working to overcome it, right? This is why so many Hondas, it's not like they're moving factories to other countries. They moved them a long fucking time ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
they moved them in like the 80s and 90s.
I think it's only a handful of. It's only like if you bought a Honda in like the last 10, 15 years, like the odds that it was actually ever touched by Japanese hands is low, and it's getting lower. Honda's been making Goldwings and Valkyries in the U.S. forever. They've been making
They went back to making them in Japan in 2018.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I know they moved
But they also like cut production down because they were
Yeah.
like, well, we're going to sell these, but not like we did in the 90s.
Right. But they do it with their cars as well, and more often now, a lot of their bikes, are getting made in like Vietnam and Thailand, and they've been everything that we've been complaining about, like not that we've been complaining about, but yeah, the Japanese have been kind of following along with America and most of Europe in exporting their manufacturing and their labor to other countries for a long time.
Right. I think that, Honda, Suzuki, Kawasaki, whatever, these are all companies where if the amount of motorcycles they're selling in the US cuts down to 25% of what it is now, these companies are still solvent. Like, motorcycles isn't all that they do, right? So, sort of as we know motorcycles today, they will still be making them 20 years from now, and they are probably going to be a lot more expensive. When they don't have the economies of scale, when they don't have a lot of things, they're going to be fucking expensive, and who can afford them will buy them. But there's also just going to be a shit ton, we've said this for ages. Also, young people just don't want to buy motorcycles, and they don't want to buy great big giant motorcycles either. It's a hard pill to swallow, but fucking big motorcycles are uncool to young people. This is really hard to describe, but like, riding a motorcycle's not a good look. Like, to young people, it's just not. It's something old people do. It's something old, crusty, racist, out of touch, don't know how to use the internet, are scared of Chat GPT type motherfuckers do. Right? That's just how it is. And in the next 10 years, like, 50% of the people that are going to Mid-Ohio this year are going to die. and their motorcycles are going to be sold on Craigslist to whoever the fuck wants them. And for people like you and me, it's going to be a glorious time of just free motorcycles everywhere, basically. And that's great. But younger people are just going to want smaller, cheaper, somewhat electric, some gas, some whatever it is, things. And I just don't see just the way that the world is set up. The Chinese being able to come in and do, like, I mean, I don't know, maybe they could step up their scooter game a little bit, but just not with motorcycles. Not when the US is the only market.
Right.
Right, you know? I just don't see it. Because the like I said, for things over 300 cc's.
Yeah. But it's also pandering to a market segment that is old and dying off, and it has also for the last 50 years had ingrained in their minds, like they're targeting the, like, you know, if you targeted our grandparents, you know, they were all kind of ingrained with the idea that Japanese stuff was garbage. And then you look at our parents and it's like, oh, Japanese means really good. But they grew up thinking Chinese made meant garbage. And that's the demographic that this is aimed at. So it's a vanishing segment of the market that can actually afford these and wants the style of bike. And they're also just inherently anti-Chinese manufacturing. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, let's not forget that 50% of the United States motorcycle market is obsessed with Harley Davidson, and Harley Davidson's in fucking trouble.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's probably not 50% anymore, but I know as of about 7 years ago, Harley Davidson had something like 55% of the market for motorcycles in the US, and everyone else was splitting the rest. But I don't think, I don't know. Harley's in fucking trouble. Their numbers have been going down, and Royal Enfields have gone up, and I don't know how many others have gone up.
You know what I would love and would actually get me to buy one of these, just because...
Well, you can't buy one. They don't make them. It's not a real motorcycle.
Well, I'm just now thinking about kind of like, did they actually do the R&D and build this 8-cylinder motor? Or is this like a boxer? Are only 4 of those cylinders real? Like, because they technically don't actually have to build the whole thing if they're not going to sell it.
I think that's an empty casing. I think this is like that Bruff Superior we were looking at a few weeks back. I think if you unbolted that valve cover, there's a note in there that just says "fuck you." Yeah.
Well, there is a picture of one like riding around in camouflage livery of like the one that like breaks up the outline, which I think they only did because that's what American car companies do when they're releasing a new model. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah.
It's...
People like to feel really smart, like getting a hold and sharing that picture. Like at this point, I think Ford sends pictures of every new Mustang in the weird camouflage to car magazines. It's so performative. It's dumb as shit. Whatever.
Yeah, I've got to see if I can find
another Tecate. So it's not just me doing a victory lap on saying that this motorcycle was and is complete horseshit and they're never going to make it, and no one else like being that confident as early as we were. It's also something like this pops up every few months from China. And so my question is, because I don't want to just completely like delude myself, since it's an impossibility that China's gonna, be able to somehow cobble shit together and make hay while the sun is shining and somehow take over this American motorcycle market, which is disappearing before our eyes, and, will make absolutely no sense to get into a decade from now when the market is flooded with a bunch of fucking Polaris Indians and BMWs and KTMs and Goldwings and Harley Davidsons that all have 8,000 miles on them because dudes bought them in, 2019 and put 600 miles a year on them and then died in 2031, right?
Mm-hmm.
What, why the insistence every few months to put one of these motorcycles on the market? Is it just in case? Because you don't actually have to produce profit anymore. Is it so at any random moment, if a weird investor comes in, they've got something to like springboard immediately and have concepts to start attracting investors, and they can maybe try to like play a game where they can pretend they're going to build motorcycles for 3 or 4 years and someone just gets to walk away and like dump the stock at the last second? Is that it?
Possibly. I do want to show you this real quick because this is hilarious, because I did find the camouflage pictures and it's in a Cycle World article. And
of course it is.
What's great is that they've got this guy on the bike, but if you look at these shots, if you look at this one and then compare it to this one, and then you compare it to this one, this bike is not in motion. This is not a running bike. Like, that is clearly the guy with his foot on the ground.
And they've just brushed his foot out, you're right.
This is not a running motorcycle. They've kind of staged it to look like it's moving, but it's not. Yeah, so the motor may not actually exist. When was this? Yeah, this is November 2024.
Yeah, you can tell with the way he's sitting right there. He's definitely got a foot on the ground.
I think he's got his leg way out so it doesn't peek out onto the bottom.
No, I think...
Or they...
No, the shadow even looks weird. I think they've just fucking photoshopped his foot out.
That's possible. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I don't think there's a motor. There's a very good chance there isn't even a motor.
Yeah, I think these things just fucking exist. So, maybe Elon Musk wakes up one morning and he, overdone the ketamine cocktail the day before, and he's like, he thinks he's the first person to go, China's gonna be the new Honda. I should invest. And they've just got, we've got this thing you can invest in right now. And they're like, don't tell him it's not real. Because what does it cost to put something like this together, right?
Probably not a lot. I mean, a lot, but like,
if it doesn't have to run, right? Like, I'll get an old shitty fucking Suzuki Boulevard and paper mache some shit and pull parts off it, whatever. I can make this picture happen in a weekend.
Well, it's probably a little bit more work than that, but
some one-off plastics or whatever. I think this is like a weird like phishing scheme, not phishing in the sense of like, mass email scams, but like I think this is a scheme where, ooh, the time-lapse GoPro is gone. Whatever, it's fine. So anyway, yeah. Chinese motorcycles, they're the worst. It's basically somewhere in between a scam, a pipe dream, and shit you don't want. I mean, having said that, there are a few Chinese-made scooters that are known to be like pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are not incapable of making good shit. Right? There's nothing about like being a Chinese person that makes you fucking capable of like working correctly on a line. It's all about the management of those people and the materials they're given and the specs of what they're building and what the expectation of that product is, right? Which for the Japanese is always set tremendously high, which is why you can buy a Honda. And even though it was made somewhere like Vietnam, which traditionally you wouldn't trust goods from, you still have crazy amounts of trust in it.
Oh yeah, because Honda's not going to let like is not going to let that factory put out garbage.
Right.
They're just not going to let it happen.
Right. Their QA is off the fucking charts. It doesn't matter. Like, Honda, like, in the 70s and 80s, Americans were known to be cranking out some really shitty quality cars. But at that time, Honda was producing cars and motorcycles of the highest fucking quality in America. Right? Same American dudes, right? Working at Harley Davidson or GM or Honda, right? What's the difference? Their fucking manager was the difference. Right?
Yeah.
So there's a problem in philosophy with the Chinese manufacturing, but it doesn't have to be. They obviously, the fucking iPhones and like loads of great scooters, but for some reason it's not matching up in what the public actually wants. But on top of that, they're facing a labor problem, a cost problem, and the fucking market that they want to sell to is disappearing. It's going to be flooded with super cheap secondhand bike market coming pretty soon, and a number of other factors. It's just never going to happen. And even if it did, like, how do we know what's fucking real anymore? Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. All right, so let's get to some emails.
All right. I have done basically no preparation for this. I think I know where the first email starts, so we're just gonna wing it.
That's what we do every time, Swigs.
That's not true.
It's pretty true.
I planned ahead like 5 or 6 times.
Well, while you look up the first email, I'll make some announcements. We have on the Discord, which is linked in every episode now. We now have a channel on the Discord for the UEOS, which I was going to make myself until I realized that you are actually the owner of the Discord. So you finally got on it for us.
I am the keymaster.
You are the keymaster. And then we also have what was the other thing that was related to the Discord? There was something else related to the Discord that I wanted to say, and I've completely spaced it. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Oh no, it wasn't really. So people were asking for. No, you'll get to that in the emails. Well, shit. I don't know. Give me a fucking email, Swigs. I'm floundering. I need.
Okay. So, John, said he appreciates that we validated his VFR 800 purchase. That was a few weeks ago. What do we have? Yeah,
When were we talking about the VFR? I was talking
like
about
3
seeing
weeks
some at
ago.
work. Was it a best or worst bike?
I think the best bike was. Oh, this was when we were talking about. I think this was shortly after we talked about the VFR 1200, but we were talking about. I can't remember.
It must have
It
been
came
when
up.
we were talking about the 1200F. It must have
Hmm.
been. Okay.
Let's see.
There were a lot of texts that people sent in, or this may have been something on the Discord. It was one of the two. I think it was on the. It might have been on the Discord. No, it was on the Patreon. People sent Patreon messages. I think. I think it was shit is coming in so many different channels now. I can't keep shit straight. But people did confirm that they want driveway videos of the bikes. They want garage mahal videos, and more than one person contacted me asking for tiki drink mixing demonstrations, all of which we will be doing. We need to find the gimbal for some of this shit. I'm not just gonna walk around holding a fucking GoPro. I would just feel dumb, but also it would look terrible. But Mike has one, so I refuse to go buy one.
Yeah. Oh, well, speaking of Mike, we do have a Mike who has got his who submitted his a while back. He submitted his 2 pages for the Tome of Knowledge and is buying a scooter off of Phil and picking it up at AMA Vintage Days.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Because he yes. Because I think the other day I was listening to an episode where they read an email from him where he was asking if he could borrow a scooter from them or something, and then I don't know, again, they're so far back. I don't know how they're fucking where they are chronologically, in time or wherever with their episodes versus time now. But yes.
But yeah, he's bought a Simba.
That's right. He mentioned that on the Discord, I believe, and I was like, a Simba, nice. I have laid hands on a Simba in real life, but never actually fired it up in anger. But I have ridden plenty of C70s and trail 70s or trail 90s, and I think it was Grumpy Sewer Guy has a Simba and says he actually prefers it to his legit Honda Passport.
Really?
I don't know why, but I also see no reason why not. So, yeah. For me, it's even cooler than having a Passport because it's the weird off-brand passports. All right.
Yeah.
Any other emails we got here? There must be shit.
We got a lot of short ones. He said, we got one from Joseph who says, in regards to the Honda Rebel 1000, yes, it has power, ease of maintenance, durability, but what it is not, cool. It does not make you look and feel cool. Nobody would turn their head and give you a second look. You could pick up an ugly chick on that. You couldn't pick up an ugly chick on that thing. I don't care. Give me an old oil leaking loud Harley Davidson. And I think
I want to know Joseph's age because there are plenty of people that do think it's cool, but they are new to motorcycles. This was my whole point with the Rebel, or our whole point with the Rebel 1100.
that's true.
For those of us that are in the know, have been around motorcycles for a while, sure, there's a bunch of things that make more sense. There's a bunch of things that tickle our special itch. But for someone who's buying their first bike, or at least their first bike that has more than 30 horsepower, it ticks a lot of boxes for people, and they don't expect, like, what cool is to them in a motorcycle is very different than what we think it is.
It's true. Yeah. And I think there's also a segment of the market that a lot of people are forgetting about, who buy a lot of these kinds of bikes, who are probably going to be the big market for bikes like the NT 1100, or the kind of people who would buy um, like the Yamaha Tracer 900, or a lot of those kinds of bikes, are people who don't have a lot of preconceptions about what is cool, what's super cool, what's niche, you know, and also kind of want some, or they're not super price sensitive, but they don't need to spend $30,000 on a bike. But what they really don't want is they don't want to buy something that has any problems. They want something turnkey, reliable, with a warranty.
Yeah.
Because
Well, this occurs to me with the Rebel 1100. There was no way that Honda could lose in creating it, because it would either be a hit and people would buy it. Surprise, they have been. If we walk into our local Honda Power Sports dealer, there'll be 2 Rebel 300s, 3 Rebel 500s, 1 Goldwing, 1 XR 150, 1 ADV 160, and about 9 Rebel 1100s.
I wonder if is there kind of in the same way that there's like a maple syrup cartel, where there's just like warehouses in Canada that are just full of like 50-gallon barrels of maple syrup, and they just kind of sit there waiting for like the price of syrup to go up before they send them all out. Like,
I don't know.
is there like a warehouse that just has like thousands and thousands of bikes with 1100 motors in them, and then like at the end of the fiscal quarter, they say like, all right guys, Rebels are out, we need NT 1100s, and there's like 10 or 15 guys whose sole job is to like rip motors out of Rebel 1100 frames and put them in NT frames or into Africa Twin frames, or like flip them around.
No, they're just making them. But as I was saying, it's either was a hit, or if it wasn't a hit, again, Honda is a company that's so big, they can afford to have these misses, right? It's kind of like these angel investors, right? And they're like, I'm going to invest in 100 companies, and only 2 of them are going to take off. But those 2 are going to be billion-dollar companies, right? I'm going to give like 100 companies $1 million, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to make $2 billion off of 2 of them, right? Honda can kind of play that game. And if the Rebel 1100 turned out to not be a big seller, then in a few years we would be, we'd be talking, okay, Honda Rebels, the 300, the 500, but kind of like the big ruckus, we'd be like, do you remember when they made a Rebel 1100? And everyone would go, yeah, that's so weird to have a Rebel that's got like big power and big displacement. People would be like searching them out, and it'd be a weird fetishy thing to have one, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of only uncool because it's successful. there was kind of no way for Honda to lose on this one. It would be just another one of their weird bikes, like the DN01 or the Honda CTX or any number of bikes that they've tried to get the public to bite on, but they were sort of like, no.
Well, yeah, I guess so, because, like, yeah, it's uncool because it's popular, but then if it was never popular, then it would kind of become niche and cool. You're right. Yeah. And then they're like, well, we made like 50,000 of them, and we'll just sell them over the next 6 years instead of getting to sell all of them. And then
instead of 60,000 every year or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So there you go. Yeah, imagine if they'd only sold them for 1 or 2 years and then it just disappeared. You'd be like, that was kind of a cool bike.
Yeah.
Like the Big Ruckus. Super hard to find now, and people kind of want silly money for what they are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really just a Honda Reflex, but somehow way cooler. All right, what other emails we got?
So that's just about it. The last one we got, I do want to just call this out again.
I know there are more texts. I got to look up the text.
You'll have to. Well, there were a bunch, or texts.
Yeah.
I don't know if I got a bunch of texts. I don't think I did.
Let's look up the fan mail here. Oh, there was a fan mail that we have to respond to. We have a corrections and omissions that we need to get to.
Oh, really? Well,
okay. Here's a good text. Need your guys' advice. Thinking about getting a 70s Kawasaki KZ400. Am I crazy and asking for headaches? It's a nostalgia thing. My dad had a 75, and it's my first memory of a motorcycle. Thanks, fellas. And this is from Covington, Louisiana. It's the same guy that asked us if we could talk about the motorcycle break-in periods. So yes, you're crazy, but you're gonna have to do it anyway, because in my experience, when you get these itches, you have to actually go through the heartache of buying it and dealing with it in order to get rid of this itch. It will not go away on its own. You could take $30,000 down to whatever dealer you want and buy whatever brand new bike that seems to be the perfect dream machine for you. But it's somehow not going to get rid of this KZ400 itch that you have. In my experience, that's how it works. You just have to get really dumb and buy the bike. And there's just no way around it. Over time, you'll learn to push these feelings deep down or never acknowledge them to begin with. But, 1 out of 10 times it works out well. If it's not impossible, you might find a really nice one. You're probably going to find a shitty one that you're going to have to do a lot of work to.
Yeah, ultimately, for any KZ, you're going to be able to find a ton of resources on how to fix every model of KZ. You'll be able to find a resource on how to fix every single part and find a forum where you can post a picture and say, what the fuck is the part number for this? I need a new one. And somebody can just go link you directly to it.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to find all the knowledge, how to set everything up, how to tune everything, how to fix everything. But you're also going to find that the people who love these bikes and work on them have an incredible amount of tolerance and patience for what a pain in the ass it is to keep these bikes alive that were not meant to survive. And you're just going to have to find out what is your tolerance and does it align or not.
Now, if he was looking for a KX 400, I would support this a lot more. Like, yes, you should get a 400 two-stroke. Like,
Oh, wait,
yes.
actually, I think I did see that one. Did he not say KX?
He says KZ.
He said KZ? Okay. Because the KX 400 is... That is a dumb bike.
It's awesome, though.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we got another one.
Yeah, the only advice I would say is just don't pay too much for it. Like, don't think it's going to complete your life and think that it's worth like $2,000.
So
like,
pay
basement prices for it if it's not running.
Here's a text from Halifax, Nova Scotia, one of my favorite places. Hey guys, just to let you know, the main purpose of a slipper clutch is to stop the rear wheel from hopping or dragging under deceleration and downshifting. Scott from Nova Scotia. Scott, you are correct, and we were wrong. I don't know why, but I have had this horrific disability where every time I hear slipper clutch, I just think about a quick shifter. And there's a big difference between the two. And we were completely wrong. So I did a bit of a dive on slipper clutches and how they work and all that sort of stuff. And he is correct. So now it turns out often that slipper clutches have a quick shift mechanism built into them as well. But it turns out, and I'll admit this was not what was in my head at the time, but it turns out a lot of the points that we made about a quick shifter does apply to slipper clutches as well. It's not a super complicated thing, and if you design the bike with it, it costs almost nothing. But to go in and put in a slipper clutch aftermarket is like $1,500. So it turns out that when a bike does come with a slipper clutch, that really is only useful on the track. And what that means is that company that's building it is taking it seriously as a competitive race bike. So in the case of you were mentioning, we were talking about the Suzuki 8R.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, oh, it's got a lot of premium stuff like the slipper clutch or whatever. And I was like, hold on. This doesn't cost a lot of money. This shouldn't be like a big feature or whatever. And I just had quick shifter in my head because slipper clutch and quick shift have kind of been the same thing in my head for a long time because I just don't really live in this track world. And the slipper clutch is basically, you downshift, and when enough force is put on the clutch, it does give a little bit. And so if you're relying on both your disc brakes and deceleration from downshifting, right, you can make your rear wheel lock up or drag or whatever, right? So this will stop the wheel from the rear wheel unsettling the bike on hard deceleration. And it's very...
so you kind of have... So wait, hang on. So I have to think about this now. So... Okay, I see what you mean, yeah.
And it's not a complicated thing, but there's zero reason that this is necessary on just a street motorcycle. Right. But it is useful when you're racing. And if you want your bike to be successful in racing, it's smart to do things like include a slipper clutch. Because it costs people so much money to get a slipper, because a company has to go in and get a clutch that's an aftermarket, has to design it for the thing, whatever, and all of a sudden it's $1,500 to do this thing that cost the OEM almost nothing to make the bike come with.
Well, yeah, I think the point is more that it doesn't cost that much more money it costs a lot of money to design a clutch for a bike, but the difference between designing a clutch for a non-slipper clutch and a slipper clutch is actually pretty minimal.
Right.
But if you make a bike with a non-slipper clutch, then for an aftermarket company to come along and then manufacture
Things get stupid.
a whole new clutch to replace that, now all of a sudden you're talking tons of money.
Right, and that's $1,500 that these people who are racing your motorcycle could spend in other areas.
I wonder if the
So
8R
you're making
is...
your bike more competitive by having it
That's
in two ways.
interesting.
One, it already has it. It's less work they have to do, but it's money they save on their race bike build.
I need to follow...
So only a bike that comes with a slipper clutch is kind of a serious race bike because all of a sudden you know that the manufacturer had racing in mind.
I haven't been following it, but I do wonder, next year, are we going to see Suzuki 8Rs in the Twins Cup in AMA next year? Is it that sort of class that they're aiming for? In which case, it's a no-brainer, yeah.
I would think so. But anyway, so again, I'm gonna just flat out admit when we were talking about slipper clutches, I just had quick shifter in my head and I was completely wrong. So there we go. Thank you, Scott from Halifax. Thanks, bye. All right. I think that there's a couple other texts, but we may have already covered it. Oh, let's see here. Someone had their take on the Xeno from our last made-up motorcycle.
Which bike was the Xeno again? I know it was the name I suggested, but what was that one?
I think we decided it was Mike's recumbent motorcycle.
Oh, right, yeah.
With like a 49cc motor on it and like a 0.6 gallon tank or something. They said a 450cc thumper hardtail cafe racer with essentially a skateboard for a seat. But with an optional upgrade seat cushion that you can Velcro down with like a 1/2 inch of foam for a ridiculous price to make that upgrade have very low value. So basically every bike from Bike XF is what he's talking about. I mean, that is a bare bones idea. Yeah. I can't say that wouldn't make a bad Xeno, but okay. And then there was another one about the... Lewistown, Pennsylvania, which is what's-his-face, who's been on the show. Oh my gosh, why can't I remember his name all of a sudden? He's been on the show. He's been on all of the Small Stupid rides. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm forgetting your name right now. It's been a really long day for me. Anyway, he says that we need a merch shop. He's got a spot on his saddlebags without a sticker right beside his Cleveland Moto sticker. We'll get to that at some point. But I'm just trying to get all these videos to work for right now. That's number one. And then second, I have to upgrade our camera positions. We're experimenting with different camera angles, and we need some much better lighting.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we've got maybe like 50 stickers somewhere that we still have.
I have about 20 stickers somewhere, but they're the ones that are a little too dark. Wait, no, that's not true. The ones that are too dark, I got rid of. I still have about 20 of the stickers Brolin sent us. That's the ones I have.
Yeah, maybe we need to do stickers again. But
we at least need some stickers. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, we should get on that, and that's a good way to segue into Mid-Ohio.
I think so.
So we've only mentioned this on the Patreon portion of the show, but we're going to go to Mid-Ohio, which, I don't know, depending on how things have been heating up with Cleveland Moto calling us out, maybe that's not a great idea. But you know what? I think if we show up when there's a fist fight, even better. right? No, I love the guys. It's all I am under the impression it's all in good fun, but we'll see, right? So yeah, we're gonna go to Mid Ohio. I am really going back and forth on a couple things here, Swigs. I have got some things that I want to sell, and also with our plans to do a full Tiki Bar at Mid Ohio.
Well, we're not going to do that in my truck. I don't think.
Well, so I've gone back and forth with Phil about this. Apparently, there is a stash of pallets at Mid Ohio already. So we really only need to bring a drill, hammer, and nails, and maybe a saw. And we can build the Tiki Bar of our dreams.
I am not hammering a Tiki Bar together. I will go spend $40 on
ice,
on self-starting deck screws, and we can do it all with a drill. Like, I'm not hammering shit together.
You're right.
In Mid-Ohio,
the self-starting deck screws is the way to go. You're right. That's what we need to buy, like the smallest size. Self-starting deck screws. That's what we need to do with the Torx head. Yep, that's what we need to do.
Yeah, and then we can. Well,
but you need. Yeah. But I'll put the bar together. But I think I need to bring the gyro again because it's kind of the best thing for going to get ice.
That's going to cost us like 2 miles per gallon. Actually, I don't know if it'll.
Well, that's a question.
Does it fit in the bed of the Ranger?
We've moved it in the Ranger before. If remember, we could not get it into the box trailer because it was too tall.
It's going to have to go on the left side to counter the camber of the road, so that we don't have to hold the steering wheel to one side too much.
Well, it has a slope to it. I don't think it's going to be that bad wind-wise. The question is, because it's so wide, will your scooter fit next to it?
I think so.
Okay. Because then the other question is if it is just too big, do we just say, fuck it? Because I need to sell Leica's bike. Like, it's just too small for her anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can put it on Craigslist here locally, but I thought, Mid-Ohio is a pretty good place to sell it. You know, I bought it for $1,200. I bet I can unload it for like $700 or $800 at Mid-Ohio for, you know, a good running XR70.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't see any reason that's a problem. So if we brought the Beaver Tail trailer, that'll cost us more than 2 miles per gallon.
It will.
So we got to think about what we're bringing carefully here.
That's fine.
But if we brought the Beaver Tail, we could also put the Vespa on there and the XR70 and our 2 other scooters. And then I could enter the Vespa in the... It turns out the only class of hair scramble that... Well, no, there's 2 things that technically the Vespa P125-79 qualifies for in the races. One of them is like the 1994 and older, like 120 or something, like 125 to 250 class dirt bikes, motocross, or there's a similar class for the hair scramble, but it's basically up against like 1990s, like 200 plus cc 2-strokes. Like, it is, because it's from this weird era, it is hilariously outclassed. If it was older, I could stand a chance of just only coming in last, but anything that I put it in, I'm just going to get lapped multiple times. But winning's not the point.
I will tell you right now, if you do enter this race, I will be too hungover to come watch you. Like, I'm...
So yeah, it's I don't know. I've got to really think about whether or not. And here's the thing too. I've done the research. Well, so Scooter Dan has found for me two fucked up cowls for the sides of it too. So if I lay it over on its side and crash it, I'm not going to fuck it up, right? I've got two
Mhm.
already fucked up side panels to put on it. But I don't know. We got to think about this. Is it just the gyro and the Italjets, or do we do the trailer and bring stuff to sell and or race?
Well, if we're taking the Italjet, I mean, I'm confident in the Italjet, but
It'd be nice to have a backup.
it might be nice to have a backup. Yeah. Uh, well, I mean, I could just take a spot that we were going to put a bike on and just bring a shit ton of parts, because
Well,
I do have an entire Italjet's worth of spare parts.
well, for 3 bikes, we do not necessarily need the trailer, because Ditch has just bought a rear carrier
Mhm.
that will go into the trailer hitch receiver.
Okay, I mean, we do have to make some compromises then, because we need to well, we just can't bring any hard-sided coolers. We gotta do the Walmart cooler bag situation.
Yes.
But
But I
otherwise,
think if
yeah.
we're bringing like enough hard liquor to sink a fucking battleship in like rums and syrups and shit, I'm sure when we get there we'll just be like, all right, we need we need 2 coolers. One for just like the endless like constant trips that we'll be making to get natter days, and another for ice. Like that's for nothing but ice. Like we're going to wash this cooler out and then put a trash bag in it and then fill it with ice, and we're going to be making fucking shaken cocktails with that ice all evening. So it'll be a sort of like no tiki drinks till the sun starts going down, because otherwise the ice just isn't going to last, right? But we'll have to have a dedicated. I'm sure we'll find someone who's like, okay, here, take this cooler for the evening.
I think we can just spend like $50 at Walmart and get like 50 gallons of storage of just soft cooler bags that don't have to survive the weekend, that we can just fill every day with ice. Like we can make this happen.
We'll make it happen. Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll just do it. We can do trips with the truck.
And then I came up with a genius idea. I don't know. Well, I know why we haven't thought about this in past years at Mid Ohio. Um, so I said to Phil, I was like, if anyone can bring various things, that's all great. I've got loads of cream of coconut. I've got loads of things, but I was like, mint. We need to gather up all the mint we can fucking find.
That is true. Yeah, that is a time and distance sensitive thing, because fucking Lexington is not going to have a surplus of mint. But
Well, Phil said he's got a big bush of it growing next to his garage, and that made me think. We need to buy a mint plant at like a fucking Ace Garden Center somewhere on the way,
well, actually, what
and
you
just
need to
plant it in Kentucky Corner when we get there.
oh, for next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good idea. Actually, what you need to be doing is you need to do. You need to make the syrup, and you need to start doing some experiments. How
Well,
well?
I don't know.
How well does the syrup? Because the syrup is probably outside the mint is like the next thing that like we need a stock of, because that's. I mean, we got to bring rum. But
I already got more Demerara sugar.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is that they say to always add like a little bit of just straight like white rum to these syrups to make them a little bit more shelf stable. I tend to add a little bit more than that, so they're even just like slightly boozy, and then they last a lot longer, right? Because it, like, you remember the last time I made orgeat, I made like a liter of it, and it's still. I mean, I've been keeping it in the fridge and shit, but that was like what, 6 weeks ago. It still hasn't gone off.
We are gonna have to make trip. Yeah, Okay, yeah.
So I'm not worried about the syrups because I just add. Well, first of all, I'm only going to make them like a few days before we go.
Just a quick note: we are now at an hour and a half.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, let's circle back to this then, but just let everybody know that we're going. So if you're going, we have got 2 tickets at a camping spot currently, but I have applied for our media passes. So we may have extra tickets coming. So if anybody is interested in meeting us there, camping with us there, whatever, you're like, I was going to go, but I don't know if I can spend this much on camping and whatever, and a free ticket is what's going to push you over the edge to go, get a hold of us, because we're probably going to have 2 extra tickets. First come, first serve from the listeners on getting them. All right. And of course, I know Phil and Johnny Mac are listening. You can count on us to add our camping spot to extend the FEMA camp, as is custom when we show up. All right. Let's give people at least like 10, 15 minutes of a taste of this sort of like precious motorcycle attitudes here. And then we'll do the rest on whatever. I've been thinking about this, right? So the Isle of Man, the TT's been going on, right? Has it finished yet?
I think so.
I think it's finished.
I haven't been following it this year.
I reached a point, like, I know this is such a typical MotoGP fucking thing, but like, I kind of stopped getting my dick hard for the TT a few years ago. Don't get me wrong, it's great. I cannot say bad things about the TT, but it's not the be all and end all for me, right? It is a little flawed for me in that, there's a lot of people that would just destroy these racers if what they were doing wasn't so fucking dangerous.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you here, but, well, only in that the TT is very special to me, but for me, the TT is... It's a very different
We say
vibe.
The TT. There are many TT races. It's a whole fucking circuit of races.
But Isle of Man I mean, just talking about, TT racing in general and, in particular Irish road racing.
Yeah.
There is, ultimately, yes, you have to recognize that, no, these are not the best riders in the world. These guys actually make terrible money, and in a way, given the level of risk they're taking on, it's kind of on
it makes no sense.
It's on the moral level of like Roman gladiator fights in terms of the absolute the risk to reward ratio,
right,
that these people are being put through for horrendously low pay,
right.
But it is kind of, there is something special about it in that, well, specifically kind of because of that, because these are guys who couldn't become world-class racing professional riders, and they said, I have to do it anyway. And so they got into road racing.
I disagree with none of this. You're correct. There's something very special about this and that people do it. But what I'm kind of fucking over is these dudes that pretend basically to go no. Well, actually, I think some of them believe it. I believe that some percentage of them, in their heart of hearts, for 11 days every year, go on and on and on about how awesome the Isle of Man TT races are. And then they just don't give a shit about the rest of the year of the TT racing. And they go on and on and on and on about the history and the heritage and the this and the that. And they've never been. They're not related to anyone that's ever been. They're never gonna go. And I don't even care if they do or don't go, right? Like, going to Isle of Man doesn't sound like a great time for me. I don't want to, like, live in poverty conditions, for fucking, like elite rich, like, Dubai prices, with just the worst bathrooms, the worst everything, blah, 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 just to sit on a corner while it's raining, waiting for it to stop racing so someone can come by. Racers can come by. I see them, and then I've got to, like, share a radio with 4 other people to figure out what the fuck is actually going on. No, I'll sit at home and watch it. Thanks. But these people that, because every year someone suggests, well, they're thinking about shutting it down. And these people lose their fucking minds. And they go to the forums and talk about how special it is and whatever. And they have nothing to fucking do with it. As you said, it's dangerous for almost no reward. And it's almost, like, disrespectful the amount they pretend to care about this and then don't give a fuck about it for the rest of the year or the rest of the season. It's fucking weird, and they're being precious, and I'm over it.
Well, I mean, so this is something, in some circles this happens, in some social circles this happens in the US. In England, this is really, really fucking bad. There's a trend in England where there is, like, the thing to talk about at the time.
Right.
In the Midwest, you can always just talk about the weather. And the weather is interesting for a lot of people because it does actually affect their livelihood. But in the UK, there's always the thing to talk about, and it is on this sort of, like, routine of, like, oh, this is, like, what we're going to talk about for the next 2 weeks. None of us have any sort of informed opinion on this topic, and then we're going to switch to something completely different the next week.
Yeah, it's weird. And all of a sudden, people have strong opinions on the Oxford-Cambridge, like, rowing race.
The rowing races, or the Ashes.
The Ashes
or
is a good
whatever tennis Grand Slam is going on, or it'll be something really dumb like what's the bullshit university quiz series that's on, like, BBC Two?
Oh, I can't remember. But
there's always, like, and you'll get into like, some people will just, like, start talking about it around you at work or in some social setting, and, like, because most people just watch the BBC, like, it's sort of like the aerial square for Vincent Black Shadow, BSA,
right.
whatever. Like, that conversation, it's, like, note for note, it's that sort of conversation on a different topic, just, like, every 2 weeks, repeated ad nauseum. And talk about the Isle of Man, it kind of follows that formula.
The biggest one is Eurovision.
I'm on board with that one. Eurovision's great.
I've never been on board with Eurovision. Anyway.
The great thing about Eurovision is everybody knows how fucking stupid Eurovision is.
I didn't know, this is weird, but I didn't know until, like, a couple years ago that Eurovision, like, everyone had completely, like, given up on its original mission, and it's now just, like, a celebration of European gay culture.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I knew it was kind of unofficially that for a long time, but that's like more or less like openly what it's about now. But anyway, so yeah. Anyway, yeah, just people like posturing that some sort of motorcycle history thing is the be all and end all of their world, but they don't give a shit for the other 50 weeks of the year.
Right.
It's I don't know. I find it odd, very very odd. But the other one, the next big one, and then we'll do the rest of these in the Patreon stuff is the Harley Davidson dudes and their patches. Harley Davidson patches like vest biker patches have become fucking precious as fuck. I mean, we do the toy run every year, and you know, like I never thought that much about until we started bringing Claire, and Claire is like, "Are you reading what's on all these people's vests?" And I'm like, "No." And then we started paying some more attention. I was like, "This is some ridiculous shit."
Oh, this is like 90s edge on a bunch of fucking dentists.
Well, and some of them good old boys, but yeah. But then, like, the fucking thing is that. So last summer we went to that fucking Four Corners rally, and all the vendors that were there were selling chaps, vests, and patches, and like nothing else. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, oh, here, like, let me just
I
like,
don't know. They were selling some really awesome graphic tees.
well,
Well, when I say awesome,
let's say memorable. I don't know about awesome, but so
I'm gonna have to take that to Mid Ohio.
yeah, you should. Well, that actually makes me think too. I was thinking about like, because I've got a few leftover iron-ons from when we were making the Lake Shield banners. I want to make some like Mid Ohio offensive T-shirts. You know, so
Go
that say
on.
yeah, shit that says like, well, like you know, like the Isle of Man is overrated. And just wear that around Mid Ohio,
Or is this kind of like
or
a
VR46 is a pussy, you know, or what's his face, 69,
oh, Nikki Hayden?
yeah, Nikki Hayden died. Get over it.
Oh my god.
Just shit to really piss off old dudes in Mid Ohio.
That's sort of on the level of like the when Top Gear was like going through the Bible Belt and they had like NASCAR sucks and man love is okay on the sides of their cars.
Oh, yeah.
This is like yeah, that
Or a legit good one would be like Polaris Indian is legacy fraud. But that would still upset some people.
I think it's better if they're just like completely like absolutely opinions we don't hold. Just
Yeah, like Rossi was a pussy.
Rossi was a pussy.
Anyway, back to what I say about Harley patches. Yeah, if anyone's got a great idea for a T-shirt offensive to old crusty non-Harley motorcycle guys, let me know. So yeah, it like how many?
Hang on. No, I think I got something.
Something's coming to you. Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be. It needs to be. Why am I? I'm trying to think of like what the actual insult has to be, but it has to be something along the lines of like Hodaka is trash. It needs to be something like that. We can workshop this.
Yeah.
But something anti-Hodaka would be pretty good.
Someone will take it real hard. Yeah. Okay.
Also, they may just be confused like, why does this exist?
Yeah.
Like, I've never encountered this before.
Yeah. Right. So Harley dudes in their patches. The number, like I said, the people, these vendors selling these patches. It's like, let me just walk you into this little booth so you can find your little like cookie cutter personality, and you can choose from like, your 12 options, right? Do you want to focus mostly on gun rights, or also like, like put like you want to do 20% racist and 80% gun rights? Do you want to have, I mean, eagles are always in style, right? Like, I feel like you'd like look at these patches and there'd be like some like, 68-year-old woman, would be like, I think you should take this one about how we should still be able to smoke in restaurants, right?
Do you want the woman offended by you, or actively resisting?
Right, yeah. And I think to myself, like, these patches are so fucking precious because, like, as you said, it's a bunch of like dentists or whatever, but it's also just like good old boys, but like they put on their vest and it makes them feel so badass because they're like, huh, can't wait till the libs get a load of what I'm wearing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, how many patches do we see at the fucking Christmas toy run that insinuate that this person will shoot you with a gun over very little?
Right.
And, and they don't really fucking mean it.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite's legalize the Constitution. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Yeah. All right. That's our 15 minutes.
That's our 50. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do an outro to make my editing life easier, and we'll finish this in whatchamacallit. Holy shit. In Patreon. Ah, my fucking phone. Here we go. Back to the thing. All right. Here we go. And I don't want to die. I just want to ride on my motor side. Cole.